What's up, guys? This is Not Your Ordinary Barber with N.Y.O podcast. Today we got a special guest with us. We got Concise the Barber. He's a fellow barber, fellow YouTuber. I'm going to hand it over to him, let him introduce himself, and let you guys know where you can find him on social media.
What's going on, everybody? Concise the Barber, as he said. You can find me everywhere with that name, Concise the Barber, on Instagram and YouTube. And my TikTok, the only difference is it's Concise the Barber 24. So that's how you can follow me.
All right, Concise. So, what made you get into barbering?
Well, I used to cut hair when I was in college.
Okay.
It was one of those times where I didn't have much money, bought me a pair of clippers, and I started cutting my hair. My friends started noticing my haircuts, like, yo, who's been cutting you? And I was like, it's been me, man. And before we used to go out and everything, they started asking for haircuts. So that was something that I did just on my free time, just cutting hair. But it was after, being an accountant for so long that I know I wanted to go back to something I love. And that's when I really took barbering serious at that point.
Okay. And so you went to college for accounting.
hmm
How did you get your barber license to begin with?
Apprenticeship.
Who did you apprentice under?
It was under a guy named Wes. Definitely shout out to him for looking out for me because that was the only opportunity I had at the moment.
Now, do you feel that doing an apprentice program and learning in a barber shop was better than going to a barber school?
Yes and no, depending on who you are.
Okay.
I definitely feel like I'm the type of person that can do an apprenticeship because I was just ready. I was just ready to go. Didn't need much to really figure out. Like I can learn as I go really really fast. I did college, so studying a book wasn't that hard for me. But if you're not a person that really can just like learn on the fly like that, I definitely think just for the passing the test, I definitely think a school is definitely worth it. Because if not, you got to have a certain type of confidence for that.
Okay, well, let's talk about one of the hardest things for you in the barber shop. Once you started, once you got your chair, once you started working and cutting hair.
I would say I was overly confident.
Well, talk about that. How did that go wrong for you?
Well, I was one of those people that honestly think I could do anything and everything. And as a young barber, it's probably not the best thing to do because this is a person that's going to be sitting in your chair and they will be walking out. And honestly, that's probably not the best thing for you to be is overconfident because you can jack somebody up, man, and they're going to know it was you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or they're going to know it was from that shop, that location. So I advise if you're a young barber and today, don't be overly confident. Just make sure that you are learning step by step on what you need to do.
That confidence you had, has it ever backfired on you?
Yes.
Okay. Give me an example of when it backfired on you.
I would say that when I uh, line up somebody so much like too strong, like my trimmers really didn't understand how to zero gap them well.
Mm-hmm.
Got some pictures back from my clients, and he was scarred up all around his head. Man, it was bad.
That's something. I'm not gonna say it's typical, but a lot of barbers starting out run into because we want our machines to be as sharp as possible, thinking that it's the machine that gets it sharp.
Yeah.
We want, and we look into how to get it even better. And that's a common mistake, man. Um, I would say just recently the machines come where you don't even have to touch them anymore.
That is correct.
Some of these back then you used to get a pair of Andis T outliners, man. You had to adjust some things. Those things wouldn't cut.
Right.
There was certain things that you would do, or you would try to change the blade to try to make it sharper, and these were all mistakes that, like, if you didn't know how to do it the right way, man, you're eating somebody's skin. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's real.
So yeah, I definitely I can relate to that. That's happened to me a couple of times too, man. Now, what was the hardest part for you to get used to as far as haircuts? Like, what was the hardest thing? A skin fade, a taper, blending to the top. Those are just some examples. Like, what was the hardest for you?
The infamous bald line. The bald line at the bottom.
Uh-huh.
If they get up and you see that little faint line at the bottom of the bald, where it should be bald, that to me was like my arch nemesis. Like, bro, what is going on? Why I cannot figure this thing out? Using the shaver, the trimmer, everything. that to me was the struggle. Like that was my struggle. I feel like I can fade in with, in the top. Dark spots, I feel like everybody will learn how to, get dark spots out. But it was just that faint bald line. I feel like that was like a lot of, the struggle for my career, my young career. Yeah.
All right, so let's go back. Let's talk about your apprenticeship.
hmm
You were working with Wes in the barber shop. Did you have your own chair at first? Like, how did you start?
Yeah. Well,
And the
I
reason I
shadow.
ask, I'm sorry, is because you
Right.
say you were cutting in college.
Right.
So you had knowledge of what you were doing.
hmm
So perhaps maybe you showed him a couple of your cuts, and he was like, you know what, we'll get you a chair and we'll get you up to speed. But
Yeah.
how was it that you started?
Yeah. It was basically something like that, but I was doing more shadowing. I would say for like my first 2 to 3 months, I was doing more shadowing than anything. I did have an option of a chair. It was the middle chair. That's where he started me out at. And if somebody needed like a haircut, desperate, whatever like that, they couldn't get into any other barbers at the time. He'll let me, cut their hair. And I appreciate Wes for like really being there while I was cutting hair, because my man can cut hair, look over while he's still cutting hair, and see like where you need help at. Like to me, that was just like, oh man, I want to get to that level.
No, I get it.
So yeah, that's how I started with a chair, but more so in the beginning, I was doing some shadowing.
Now, how long before you started building clientele? How long do you think that took you?
When I was able to go full time, my first 3 months, I can honestly say that I was like a part time going into the shop. But when I made that huge transition into counting to barbering, I went full time, and that's when I feel like I started to like really get clients in my chair. So I would probably say like the 6th month.
Do you have any children?
Do I have any children? Yeah, I have a daughter.
The reason I ask is because of that. It's a big risk. A lot
Yeah.
of people
Oh,
don't
yeah.
realize that when you go into a barber shop, some people think you're going to make all this money.
hmm
It doesn't work that way. A lot of places is chair rent.
hmm
Some places that do chair rent and you're starting new, they're going to start you on commission, right?
Yeah.
But you don't have the clientele to even start the commission. So you're basically getting fed whatever the owner's giving you.
Right.
And as a family man, you got kids to raise. It's pretty hard. So that's probably why you do it part time, because you probably had your full time job and you was doing that.
Right. Right.
So I mean, I went through that same thing. I did it for about 2 years. I was working nights, but I was doing full time in the barbershop as well. When was the time that it clicked for you and you said, you know what, I don't need to kill myself and keep 2 jobs. I want to concentrate on just barbering.
Um, when I put real numbers to it, to where I was at. Now, what happened was I messed up, right? I said, oh, I can do this. This can take over this if all I do is this many haircuts a day, right? But I wasn't at this many haircuts a day. A lot of times barbers will get to a place where it's like you see the numbers, how much you can make, but what's the reality? How many people are you bringing in a day right now?
Yeah.
So once I got to a place where I felt like, oh, I'm averaging 4 clients a day, all right, let me do it full time now, because if this is that part time, full time I could try to get 8. You know what I mean, or even 6. So if my base was like 4 a day, I knew that was the time to switch over.
For me, it was the day that I realized that I was booked out for a week straight.
Oh wow,
When I was booked out for a week straight, I was like, wow, like I really don't need to do this. I think I'm okay now.
yeah,
And it wasn't a holiday. It wasn't like nothing like that. I remember one day I was sitting in the shop, and back then I used to use Style Seat. That was
Okay.
before Booksy or anything like that, and I was on Style Seat, and I believe it was a Thursday. And man, I was in the barbershop till like 9, 10 o'clock at night, and I open up my Style Seat and I see that the whole week's booked. The week after that is starting to get booked, and I was like, you know what? I really don't need to kill myself anymore.
right.
But yeah, man, that journey, working nights, full time, and being in the barbershop during the day full time was tough. I was like a zombie.
Yeah, I honestly feel like you need to have a certain type of passion for it to really like succeed in it. I feel like a lot of people can start out barbering and like, hey, this is nice, this is cool, it's a nice gig. I like to cut hair, but it's the parts where you're not cutting hair, you know, or it's the parts where you got to work the extra hours. When somebody, once you think you're going home and somebody hits you up and says, "Hey man, I got 3," you think you can get us in real quick, you know. It's if you know how to deal with that and overcome that, I think that's where you start to see success somewhere in your barbering business.
You know, I agree with that. I also agree that I also think that if you're treating it as a job, right?
Hmm.
Not just I'm cutting a few heads and
Right.
just gonna sit around and play on my phone. I think if you actually treat it as a, I'm sorry, not a job, as a
As a
business,
business, yeah.
you're gonna make money, man. Because the way I used to do it back then was, and I'm talking about 10, 12 years now.
Okay.
Okay, I used to go on Instagram and I would write a little template on the notes, copy it, and I would be like, "Oh, I'm a new barber in the area. My name is such and such. I work at here. If you're ever looking for a haircut, come hit me up." I would take it, copy it, go to the geo tags on Instagram, and I'll send everybody these messages. You know, and
Mm.
this is what I would do in my downtime.
Hmm.
I would stand in front of the shop. Anybody would walk by, I'd give them a card. Everywhere I went, you know, I was basically promoting myself, and a lot of barbers nowadays don't do that. Yeah, they do the Instagram thing,
Hmm.
but as far as business cards, man, a lot of them are even afraid to go talk to people.
Gotcha.
What tools did you use to help build your clientele aside from just from working in the shop?
Um, well, I'm a face to face type of person.
Yeah,
I would actually, if it's slow, I'm walking around. I got cards saying, "Hey, I'm offering a free cut." You know, uh, shops right down the street. You know, just give me a chance. Here's some of my haircuts. Used to show them some of my stuff. But I would really love to give you a haircut. I actually made it like real, like personal to them. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And I feel like a lot of times people can tell you, like they can see when you're trying to just sell them something. You know
yeah,
what I
hundred
mean? Or
percent.
it's like, "Oh, here's my card. Yeah, just hit me up." It was more so like, "Hey, my name is Nate, man. Just want to let you know a little bit about myself. I'm a barber. I just started out, but I think you appreciate, the type of haircut I can do with your texture," or something like that. Like really made it like that person feel good before they even sat in a chair. So that was some of the stuff that I used to do, other than just passing cards out, hashtagging the 570 barber or all of that stuff. But I was very like an actionable type of person. I had to be, you know what I mean? I don't like sitting around. Like
No, yeah,
that's not
hundred
my
percent.
motive. You know what I mean?
I put my kids to work too.
Yeah.
My my sons, because they all were bringing all their friends over to me to give them haircuts.
Hmm.
But that was one of my selling points. I would just lace my kids, send them to school.
Yeah.
All their friends would just be like, "Oh, where you get your hair cut at? Oh, my dad's a barber. He works at such and such." Next thing I know, their parents are bringing their kids in, and "Oh yeah, my son goes to school with your son." And
Hmm.
teachers, principals,
Yeah.
all of them were like, "Yo, dude,
Low hanging fruit.
word of mouth." I think till
Yeah.
this day, word of mouth is probably the best thing.
The best thing it is.
Yeah.
Definitely so. But you have to be out there. You have to make yourself out there.
Now let's talk about the shop. Is it you have other barbers that work in your shop, or is it just you?
It's just me.
Okay.
I'm in a suite. So me and my wife, we have a salon slash barber. You know what I mean? We have 3 chairs for stylists, and then it's me in a suite.
Now, how hard? Well, I mean, you said you started out in the barber shop.
Hmm.
You got some of these guys that come out of school and their ultimate dream is to have a suite. Um, what advice would you give to somebody like that?
Personally, I honestly don't think that you should come straight out of school and get into a suite. For me, how I'm using a suite is a transition stage. It's not the end all be all stage for me.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly think that, getting into a barbershop and a good barbershop, you know what I mean? I definitely think that matters too. But seeing the vibe of that, seeing exactly what kind of barber you really want to be. Because going into a suite, you're not just a barber, you're an owner now. You know what I mean? There's so many hats that you gotta put on. Learn how to be a barber first, learn how to be a part of a team first, then see where you really land to see if you want to even be somebody that manage. You might be one of the best barbers out here, and you never need to have to own a shop. That honestly, you probably have more money in your pocket that way than you trying to go straight into a suite, and now you got rent straight off rip. So to me, I think it's best to start in the barbershop and then figure out where to go from there.
No, I agree with you 100%. I wouldn't. To be honest, Guys, you out of barber school. Do not go to a bar. Don't go straight to a suite.
Please don't.
One, you're gonna have who. One, if you don't got clientele, why are you opening up a suite? To even start. Start building your clientele. Learn what a finished haircut's supposed to look like.
Yeah.
Work around people that are gonna that are better than you. Okay.
Yeah.
What I mean by that is that are sharper than you, that are quicker than you, that know more about the skill than you do, so that way you can improve. Because coming out of school, you're gonna think you're the best barber, or I'm licensed now, I'm ready to go. But not until you get into a barber shop is when you really learn how to cut hair.
Yeah, and that's real. I think always having somebody next to you that's better than you, always is going to help you elevate.
Of course.
It's just like, if you ever did like track or you see a race, your top speed doesn't get any better until you're competing with somebody.
Yeah, 100%.
And they're a little bit ahead of you, but you push even harder. If you could jump straight into a suite, you might get too comfortable. Your haircuts might not get to its optimum place it's supposed to be, and you're actually kind of dragging your feet on your skill because you're not giving yourself nothing to see how you should elevate.
I agree. So now you said you and your wife are working. What does your wife do?
She braids.
She does braids?
Oh, yeah.
She cut women's hair or anything like that?
Oh, she's a specialist in braiding.
That's dope. I got to get her information too, by the way.
Yeah.
There's a thing, right? A lot of barbers run into a lot of people that want to get braids.
Mm-hmm.
They're coming with the man bun. You give them a haircut, then the person has to go somewhere else completely to go get their hair braided.
Right.
So you got the best of both worlds in one spot.
Yep.
Now, do you cut some of her clients, and does she braid some of yours, or how does that?
Yeah, honestly, that was the real strategy in a sense, and almost everything that we have there, we have a loctician, and sometimes they only have just the top and their sides are shaved. Mm-hmm. So of course they see a barber in there, they see somebody walking out, they see a clean cut, and like, hey, does he have time? Boom, you know what I mean? Get a cut. Me and my wife, we've been doing it since. That's how we honestly started. She would. My nephew, he would get his hair braided and I would cut him, braid and fade. That's all we used to do. We're like the combo 1-2 punch. We even know exactly, like, she knows how much to leave out, all of that. Like, we have the whole setup. Yeah. That's
real cool, man. Now we're going to touch on something. Let's touch on your YouTube channel. You have a YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
Your YouTube channel. What is the purpose of your channel to begin with? Let's start off with that.
Now it's mainly just product reviews.
Product reviews?
Yeah.
Okay, but when you first started, what was it?
Everything. Vlogging, reviews, life, stupid stuff, man. Trips. Just
to try to figure out
to figure out where I was at, man. And to be honest, shout out to my wife, because I was really like going against the grain with this. Like, it was like kind of more natural for me to review something because I'm very observant with some things. Mm-hmm. And I just started to do it unknowingly on my channel.
Okay.
Like, just reviewing things, And my wife said to me one day, she was like, you know what, you probably should really just focus on reviews. I'm like, man, it's my YouTube. I'll do whatever on my YouTube. It's just YouTube. I listen, and it got me to a place I didn't think could happen, to be honest.
Sometimes you need that someone's perspective on it.
Yeah.
Now, what made you want to start a YouTube in the first place?
Honestly, I think it's just part of my character. I think I was one of those type of people that I wanted people to see somewhat of my life, and that also, as as a Christian brother, that you can enjoy life. You know what I mean? And I wanted to like really show people how that looks. Mm-hmm. And like just in the everyday. That's why I vlogged a lot. Just the everyday of my life and stuff like that. Honestly, I don't do much of that now, but if I did, man, it would be a TV show everybody would be watching. It's crazy right now. But that's what really got me into YouTube, because I always thought I was a person that could do YouTube,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about the product reviews.
Mm-hmm.
What's your most watched video of what product?
Honestly, it's not what product. It's many products. And I realized that those type of videos get the most clicks because we're in the barber industry. A lot of people want to know what they should get, right?
Yeah.
So I did like the top 5 clippers of 2022. that has like the most views,
That's dope.
like in 3 years. You know what I mean? Like it got up there really, really fast. So I started doing mid-year, you know, 2023. Now I'm doing concise Clipper Awards.
That's dope. No,
You know
that's
what I
good.
mean? And honestly, if I would have never did that, there would have been some opportunities that would have never came. So it's those type of reviews where I compare a lot of clippers and trimmers together, so people can really have like a good idea where they're at.
Okay. What is your favorite clipper?
Right now, it's the JRL.
No, of all time. Let's just forget right now.
Of all time.
Of all time. That's it.
Oh man,
Best
why you doing this to me? I don't know if I have an all time. Okay, matter of fact, respectfully, I'll probably say the Oster Fast Feeds
Yes.
of all
The
time.
cordless or the corded one?
Corded.
Corded.
Yes. Okay. Yep, I got all of them.
I'd say, yeah, I'd say that's accurate.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say it's my favorite. I'd say the favorite one is between two: the Endless Masters or the JRL.
The cordless JRL.
Yeah, cordless JRL.
Oh, okay.
Cordless JRL. Or
Well,
the
when it comes to
Endless
cordless, then
Masters.
yeah, I'll have to say JRL all day.
Yeah, but I would say it has to be between the two.
Mm-hmm.
To me, they both open up to a one. I don't need the half guard. I don't need the 1.5 guard. I think those are probably my two favorites.
Okay.
Trimmers.
All right. My favorite trimmer right now.
You can put the little Jeopardy sound.
Nah, man, because you gotta understand. Like when I do reviews, it's I put a lot down so I could just focus on one or two at the time. You know what I mean? And then when I pick something back up, it's like, oh man, I missed that.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So honestly, right now, I would have to say the trimmer that is like my go-to is the Cyborgs.
Cyborg.
Gamma Cyborg trimmer, yeah.
Okay.
Then the Sabers. It's like them two.
What's the worst trimmer?
The worst trimmer? Oh man, that's the wall peanut, man.
All right. Recently.
Recently was the worst trimmer.
You said the wall peanut. That is the worst
I'm sorry, that is the worst. The worst trimmer. I would say the Oster's trimmer that came out. The cordless one, the T finisher. They made that cordless. I don't think that's a good trimmer at all.
Okay, I never even
Or
touched
the
that.
Andis Bespoke trimmer. No, that's an automatic no. I can't use that.
Okay. Worst clippers.
Worst clippers. Ooh, I'm gonna get a lot of people gonna go crazy when I say this, but the Andis Revites. I don't.
No.
No. I have my, me and a friend just talked about those. I have my reasons why I say this because it's just some aesthetic things. It was some things they could have did way better on the field that they just, to me,
I would have to say the worst clippers ever are the Envy. Remember those? And this Envy?
Yeah, I remember those.
I think those are probably the worst clippers ever.
The corded ones.
Yeah, or cordless too, because they came out with the one with the graphic. You remember it had like graphic on the cover,
Mm-hmm.
and those are pretty bad too. Those are probably the worst clippers.
Okay, I could respect that.
Yeah, they were horrible. Couldn't cut through a bolt.
They coming back out with them now.
Well, you better put a stronger motor on that thing because that thing was horrible.
They did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is there a product that you wanted to review that you haven't had the chance to yet?
Yeah, Stylecraft Metal Instinct Clipper, and honestly, all of Andis new stuff. Like right now, they're at the expos, just showcasing them. They're not even letting people. You can't buy them right now, no pre-orders, whatever like that. But they got the new Blackout Clipper and the new GTX trimmer with the magnet blade. So I never seen them try to do stuff like that. And they got a new brushless motor clipper coming out, clipper and trimmer. So I can't wait to try those out.
Now let's talk about the expos. You've gone to several expos. You go to
Yes.
CT Expo,
CT.
and
Yeah.
what was the other ones you go to?
I went to Philadelphia premiere 1 year
Okay.
as well.
The trade show or the premiere?
The premiere.
Okay. What's your favorite thing about these expos?
Networking.
Okay.
Honestly, it's cool to see everybody that does what you do. You know what I mean? Like, we live in the same area, and we just literally just connected. You know what I mean? And it's surprisingly that you can connect with people that like states away quick. You know, at an expo, and you guys start networking. You know, take each other's number. You try to see how you can help each other elevate in whatever you're doing. So for me, the networking part of CT is like one of the best, and also putting a face to the person that inspires you. Like, to be honest, like there's probably people that's like, yo, man, I really rock with Rob the Original or 360 G's, and it's like, yo, go to these expos. You might be able to shake their hand one day. You know what I mean? So, yeah, stuff like that.
Have you ever competed at the events?
I did, man. I did. I don't got a good story.
Talk
though.
about it. Let's see.
Well, I did the 15-minute fade. Fast fade, right? And I'm really like one of those people like, oh, I could fade fast, man. Give me some detachables and I can, go to work. I did the fast fade. 15 minutes. I was probably done in like 12 minutes. I faded this dude out. He had a little bit of hair up top. I used scissors. I actually gave him a design, a mid-ball fade, all of that in 12 minutes. I didn't even place. You know why? I forgot the neck hairs.
Oh, man.
I took that neck stripped off, and my man was woofing back here. And I said, oh, my goodness.
Done.
I already knew. Like, once they start looking at everybody's stuff, honestly, I'll be real with you. Kenny Duncan from Andis. He hurt my feelings with this one. He looked at my client and told the other judges, he was like, hey, y'all, look at this.
He called them all over the show.
He showed all the judges.
Wow.
He was like, and walked away. I was like,
was your first competition? Yeah.
At CT too, yeah. You know what I mean?
That's kind of tough.
So I was like, never again will I ever mess up with neck hairs.
Have you competed since then?
Nah, man.
Why not?
Honestly, my mind was on other things. And not saying that I would never do it again. I definitely want to do it again. I'm picking my years on what I do, where I go, to be honest. Like, if I go to more expos, like, kind of closer, then most likely. But for CT, for me, it's like catching up with everybody, networking and stuff like that.
Yeah, CT's kind of like the Super Bowl competing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got people from all over the world.
Yeah, you got this little girl and this little boy cutting hair like it's nothing, man. Like, they've been doing this for like 15 years and they're like 12.
They're like 10 years old.
Yeah, it's crazy.
No, you get people from all over the world, man. They come from Europe. They come from South America.
Yeah,
I've even
Australia.
seen people in Australia.
Yeah.
They come.
Everywhere.
There's a barber show that came from Australia, and they were over there, interviewing people. I'm like, where you guys from? Oh, and they got the accent. I'm like, oh shit, you guys are from New Zealand or whatever it is. I'm like, wow. But you meet a lot of people, and a lot of people, like you said, that you see on YouTube. I'm gonna call them like celebrity barbers because they're they're popular. They're all at the show, man.
Yeah.
In June, there's one in Reading. In July, there's one in Brooklyn.
Okay.
All of these, man, you should come out too, man. We're going to try to be at all of them.
I would love to come out to more of them. If I know about them, I'm going to definitely try. You know what I mean? I just know about CT. Like, that's something like me and my wife, we plan like a year in advance. You know what I mean?
No, CT's
that's something that's easy to plan.
But the ones are local, like New York is only, 2.5 hours away?
Yeah, about 2.5 hours. But to be honest, I don't feel like it gets that much recognition. Like,
no, but it's
not
a good
that many
time to
people
compete,
are talking about it.
Right? So let's say, for example, CT's in May every year. Vegas one's in August every year.
Yeah.
You got all these other shows that are smaller, but these same people that you see at CT are at these shows.
Right.
So you can network with them. You meet them over and over again. And if you're into competing, you start off in these in the smaller shows. You know what I mean? And I think you're going to like it, man. If you like competing, because it's not for everybody.
Honestly, I think, let's be real. I think most barbers are competitors.
Yeah.
Right? It's just all about the level of it. You know, some people don't like the stage part of it, but they have a competitive spirit in them at the same time. But once they get over that hump, I think a lot of people will compete more. Like I feel like that's what I did. Like I was a person that's like, yo, I could do that. 15 minutes, I could do that.
Yeah.
And then I just like I stalled. Like I ain't doing it this year. And then I got pushed. Like you know, my wife, my friends, everybody was telling me to do it, and I was like, all right, I do it. And once I hit the button to complete, I was like, oh snap! Like there's no turning back. You know what I mean? So I think everybody has that in them, but they just got to get their, like you said, their feet wet, their hands wet.
Where do you see barbering? Where do you see the industry going from here?
Honestly,
What do you see that the industry has in store? You know, maybe within the next 5 years or so.
honestly, I think what you said earlier about barbers taking it more as a business.
Yeah.
I think that's what's elevating right now in the industry. And companies and brands are starting to see that. So they're treating more barbers as
Professional.
a profession, a profession. So that being said, I think that it is on the upscale. I think a lot of things are going to start elevating. I think also the main reason why a lot of companies are making the clippers and trimmers already at zero gap is because there's a lot of more people understanding the pressure, knowing how to cut that way. You know what I mean? Like the education is vast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's on YouTube. It's classes going on everywhere, Salon Centric and Sally's and whatever. You know what I mean? There's so much more available for you so you can hone your skills. So to me, I think that more people are getting into a place that they're taking their barbering career more serious and as a business.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think a lot of that has to do with also their ambassadors, right?
Yeah.
So they're taking barbers,
Yeah.
and they're bringing them in and asking them, "Look, what do you think of this?" Or giving them machines and getting reviews on them, like what you do. You know, these companies take all that information, and they go back to it and come up with something better and something better. I was listening to a show that Jay Majors was talking in, and he told me that one of the owners or CEO or something like that of Baby Bliss used to be a carpenter.
Yeah, Dennis.
And his thing was, that's why the thing with the batteries, right? Because as a carpenter, as opposed to walking around with all these machines, you just had different batteries.
Yeah.
And that's where they came up with the idea of running all these different batteries. So imagine they're taking that, innovating it. Now they're taking barbers and getting the more understanding on how it cuts and everything else. And I think that I see the same thing in the future. I see that barbers are going to be more involved with these companies. I think these companies are going to start taking them more serious.
Yeah.
And I think aside from the companies taking barbers, I think they're going to start speaking more to the suppliers. We had a supply guy here earlier, and he mentioned that. And I was like, you know what? That's a good point because, yeah, you have a barber, but your favorite machine is not my favorite machine, right?
Right.
But a supplier knows that out of 100 machines, 30 of them are selling this. You understand what I'm trying to say, and the reasons why. If there's something wrong, he gets all the complaints about it.
Right.
And I think they're gonna start
connecting with the
start
suppliers.
connecting with them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think that's something that
The shelf life
Yes.
of the product. Yeah.
I think that's something where they're gonna start getting into also. Now, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Ooh, that's a good question, man. Honestly, I've been thinking about that. I don't have a solid answer in a sense, but what I do see is that our shop is going to grow. We have some other business ideas that we want to do, but in 5 years, will I be a complete at 100% full-on barber? I'm not sure. Will I be more of a content creator? I'm not sure. It's something that I'm honestly thinking about as of right now. What direction that I really want to go. Yeah, I like the fact that I honestly just don't know. I'm just gonna try some things, see how they work. But I do love barbering. I don't think I will ever stop.
You think you're gonna be that old head that cuts those 2 or 3 people at 60 years old?
Yeah,
Yeah. So.
hands down. But see, when I do it, I feel like I got to do it. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to do it like I'm still gonna have you're still gonna come into like a suite.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So, yeah.
I tried that little suite. I had a little. I just can't do it. I like the shop environment. I like people
Yeah.
coming in. I like kicking it with this one, that
Hmm.
one, music, laughing. You know, I'm not saying you don't have that, but
Hmm.
I just
No,
yeah.
that's why I said that the suite for me is in a transition stage,
Hmm.
because that's not the end goal for me. Like, a part of our next thing is a barbershop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I definitely think I would like to have a suite in the back, or like a place for me in the back. But honestly, how I really want to set up, I don't want to just do one of them. If I can find a space that had to do multiple of them, because I think that, barbers might feel some type of way when
One guy's
the
in the
head
back.
guy in the back, and he thinks he's like this, and it's like, to me, that's not the type of community I'm trying to build. But I do want you to always to try to learn and elevate and grow. And if I have a space for you, you want to try that, we can try that. You get what I'm saying? Just so they can see how it really feels. But other than that, I think that doing the suite in the barbershop is like the main thing. I don't think I want to have something just completely separate.
Yeah.
But do something like that. Yeah.
Now, what are the likes and dislikes of the barbershop?
Likes and dislikes of the barbershop, honestly, sometimes it can, to me, you can't control it. You can't control your environment as much as you would like.
Yeah.
There's going to be there's some legway. It's like with you, you know how you're always going to move. You know what type of music you're going to put on. You know the aesthetic. You know what's going to be kept up. That's you, and that's okay. That's honestly, if you want a barbershop, you're going to understand that not everything is going to be your way.
Hmm.
That's real. So, I think with the con of that is that not everybody is going to see everything how you see it. You know what I mean? Like, even like how you clean. Like, you can have a standard, and everybody's rocking that standard, and praying, and hopefully that everybody that you chose has the moral values and ethics of keeping it the way that you want it. But sometimes you might get somebody that's just fresh off the boat,
Hmm.
and they making a mistake here and there, and that's okay, because everybody needs to grow. But that's what's going to happen in a barbershop. You
Yeah.
get what I'm saying? So to me, it's more of a controlled environment in a suite, compared to a barbershop.
Okay. And the likes?
The likes, it's the fact that it's a barbershop.
I get it.
You hear everybody laughing, the great conversations, you know what I mean? Like, that was one of the things I love with me and my father going into the barbershop every Thursday or Friday, man. It just to be with the guys, talk that talk, you know what I mean? Talk sports, talk just whatever, hearing the Oscar 76s, smelling the Andis Cool Care in the
Yeah.
air. Like, it's just a vibe, like, for the
Just
community.
can't you can't trade it for nobody
No,
else.
you can't.
What do you? Well, first off, you got any other questions? You have any questions for us, or
Yeah, I do. My question is, I think you kind of touched on it just a little bit about the whole uh, apprenticeship in a sense. So, what's your thoughts when it comes to licensing? Do you feel like uh, it should be mandatory?
yes?
Why?
Because there's a lot of things that. All right, sanitation, knowledge of like bloodborne pathogens, diseases, things like that. If there wasn't these laws and these rules set into play, I
Hmm.
think that would be overlooked very easily.
Hmm.
And that's one of the one things that's horrible in a lot of shops. You understand what I'm trying to say? So I do believe that you should keep up with your license. I do believe every barber should be licensed, um, and there should be a standard. I'm pretty strict with that. Yes.
Pretty strict with that. Yeah. Why? Here's another question. So in Pennsylvania, you know that we have master barber, manager barber, and just regular
Teacher.
barber. Why do you feel like a lot of barbers just stop at barber?
Because just the same, for the same reason why they just stop at a chair. You know, they get comfortable.
Yeah.
I think that that's just what we're taught even in school. Um, you know, you go to school, you go to high school, you go to college. In college, they tell you, well, you go to high school. In high school, they tell you got to go to college. In college, they tell you got to get a degree so you can get a job.
Okay.
And I just think that's just in their nature. I think that most people don't see what's beyond that. I think most people just stay comfortable.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do. I agree with that. Now, what about when it comes to like raising your prices? Who Like, when do you think? And all right, let's talk about in two situations.
Mm-hmm.
When do you think that should happen in a barbershop,
Okay.
right? And who controls that?
Well, you have
And
to. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
so, when should you raise your prices? Let's say you're in a barbershop setting. When should you raise your prices? And who truly controls that? If a barber feels like he needs to raise his prices, or do you think the owner should tell him when?
I think there's two separate things, right? I think
Okay.
you have shop prices and you have your appointment prices.
Okay.
So let's say right off the rip, you're a new barber.
Mm-hmm.
You should go by what the price of the barbershop is and maybe add a couple extra dollars for the appointment, only because you're trying to respect that person's time and keep them in the chair or get them in the chair at that time.
Okay.
I believe that you should raise your prices once you get to the point where you're overbooked all the time. And I don't mean a week ahead of time, or even 2 weeks. I think that if you're booked out for a month ahead of time and you got people hitting you up within that month to try to get at you and you can't get to them,
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's a good time for you to start thinking about raising your prices.
Okay.
Whether that takes you a year, 5 years, 10 years, whatever the case is, I think that's a good time. And I don't mean something drastic either. I mean, just like any other job, I believe that if you work at a job in a regular place every 6 months or every year, you do get a raise.
Mm-hmm.
I think the barber should be entitled to that as well. And I always thought that. I always was the type that was like, okay, why are barbershop prices stuck at $18 for 10 years? You know what I'm trying to say?
Right.
I was always the type that when I started working by appointments, I mean, to be honest, I probably worked maybe a year without, by doing walk-ins. After that first year, I was strictly appointments.
Okay.
And the reason for that is I like to be able, like I have a family, I like to be able to know how much money I'm making,
Mm-hmm.
keep track of things like that. And I always charge a little extra for appointments. But I was never the type to say, you know what, my prices are going to be $18 for 10 years.
That's interesting. I think most people will probably look at appointments will be a little bit cheaper than walk-ins.
Yeah, I don't agree with that at all.
Okay.
I think walk-ins, I think that you're paying a little extra for for you to be able to get in that chair at
That
that
time
time.
slot.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Walk-ins are walk-ins. I'm not trying to, put them off or anything like that. But, if I'm securing a spot in my chair, not only am I going to charge you a little extra to make sure, but I'm also going to either take a payment beforehand or at least have a credit card on file or something. You understand?
Right.
But at that comes with a cost as well. I'm not going to put somebody ahead of you. And I do give you some leeway. So if your appointment's at 1 o'clock,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to try my best to make sure that chair's open at 1 o'clock.
Gotcha.
But if you're not here by 1:15, I'm going to make sure that I charge that credit card.
Gotcha.
After that, then I take a walk-in or whatever in between. But I try to respect their time.
I respect that. Now, if they're in a suite, when do you think they should raise their prices? Because I think that's a little bit more different.
It is different, but I still think it goes back to how booked you are.
Okay.
I think that if you're booked for several weeks, same thing.
So it's
a month.
not like I know my worth type of situation.
No. And that all depends on the demographic of the area as well. You can't be charging $100 a haircut if your barbershop's across the street from a housing project. Most of your customers can't afford it. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Right. That makes sense.
If that's the case, you want to charge $100 a haircut, then move into like downtown, go somewhere nicer, and provide that service to somebody. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just because someone's in the suite doesn't necessarily mean that their service is worth $100.
True. True.
It's all about the service. I know guys that'll charge $100 for a haircut, and it's in a barbershop, but it's the service. He'll make sure he pays attention to detail. Hot towel shaves are just not with the towels, with the steamer, black mask, all this and all that. So it's the service is worth that. I think it's about the service, and also your demographic.
Okay.
I don't think it's right that you try to charge $100 if most of your customers are, you know what I mean? I think that has a lot to do with it.
Okay. So how you feel about the whole commission versus booth rent thing?
It's good and it's bad. As a shop owner, commission is great.
Mm-hmm.
But it's bad if you have barbers that are not there all the time and they really want to work. And what I mean by that is some barbers are individualized,
Mm-hmm.
right? So let's say you have a barber that's worked in a barber shop for 10 years and he's used to coming in at 12 o'clock, or he's used to coming in only Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. As a shop owner, you're not going to make that much money on those 3 days, you know? You want him there as much as possible and cutting as many people as possible so that way he's making money and you're making money at the same time.
Right.
But there is the opportunity to make more money,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So let's say, for example, the barber brings in $1,000 a week.
Mm-hmm.
You're taking 40% of that. That's $400 for yourself every week.
Right.
But if you're only charging him booth rent, that's only $200 a week. You know what I'm trying to say?
Right. Right.
So your booth rent may not add up to as much commission,
Mm-hmm.
but it's consistent. So 1 week you'll have that $400 because he made the 1,000, but 1 week another barber's only there half of the time. He only made 300.
Right.
So what kind of money do you make off of that?
True.
So yeah, that's
I
my
look
opinion.
at booth rent you cap the chair.
Okay.
That's how I look at it. Like what you're basically saying is that this chair is only worth this amount a month.
Well, yes and no. I wouldn't say that it's worth that amount of money. I'd say it's a comfortable figure for business,
For a business, for the more
for
so
the
for the
owner,
owner.
right? So you see something that's fair to because at the end of the day, if you're charging chair rent,
Mm-hmm.
you're basically telling them they're in almost an independent contractor, almost because they still have to work under your name, under your business hours,
Right.
right? So if you sit down with them and you're like, okay, this is your booth rent, but you're also an independent contractor, that still gives them the opportunity to make way more money than possibly even the owner's making.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so in a way, it's kind of securing the owner that, okay, at least he has this amount every week, but it's also giving the opportunity to the barber to increase in sales, make more money,
Mm-hmm.
and do things like that as well.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that. I mean, this topic is always going to be talked about. You know what I mean? Everybody's going to feel their type of way about it. But in a business aspect, when I was doing booth rent,
Yeah.
I was on booth rent, and in my shop now we do commission, and I'm starting to see the pros and cons of both in a sense. Longevity wise, I definitely think commission on both parties. I think booth rent, if you're somebody that's just getting in and you need to be pushed a little bit, you know, I think if you start off with commission, you might be too comfortable. If you start off with booth rent, like, hey, I need you to make this amount a month, you kind of push to get to that place where you can afford that chair.
Yeah.
If you start off at a commission, and it's like, well, I ain't bringing nothing in, so you ain't getting nothing. You get what I'm saying? You might slow your process down. So to me, I think there's somewhat of like a tier. I don't look at it like straight cut. I think there should be a blend in a sense, especially for a barbershop.
Well, that's kind of like what I do. So let's say you're a new barber. You don't have clientele. You haven't been working in other barber shops or anything like that, right? Then I do start them off with commission.
Right.
Just until they get to that point where it's like, okay, now I'm sure that you can afford the chair rent, and we're just going to stick with that.
Right.
And I do that because one, it's more motivating for the barber, and two, it's less stress on the owner because you're not calling him when he's running late.
Right.
You're not expecting him to call you when he's not going to come in. You know, even though you can set your rules and put all your rules into play, put all your rules into play that they have to be here within certain hours or do this or do that, it's not going to happen. Especially when there's experienced barbers, they're set in their ways.
Yeah.
You know, you can get lucky and find a barber that's hungry and it's, you know, very responsible and treats it as a job and treats it as a business. But to this day, there's still lots of barbers out there that like the freedom.
Yeah.
They like to be able to come in, and if they don't have anybody, dip out, try to find something to do, take care of something else. And I think that's probably one of the problems with the industry.
Yeah. And how can I say this? I think in a lot of ways, as much structure we need to have with haircuts, the foundation, right? When you're owning a business, the structure across the board should kind of almost look the same in a sense. So now when barbers are getting in the industry to know what to expect. But there's been a lot of I've noticed that there has been a lot of owners at times that's like, yo, I just need to fill this chair.
Mhm.
Had nothing to do with their structure, what they really wanted, how it to look. They just needed to fill the chair because they needed to have some income in their pocket, because they got bills to pay. But the structure in itself, if you get to a place where your system really works, then you're not focused so much more on the chair. You're focused more on just the person who's really getting the chair, because now you're going to take interviews and you'll say, I don't know if that's a good fit for my business. You get what I'm saying? But yeah.
I'm gonna give you a tip. Right, you're talking about opening up a shop.
Mm-hmm.
2 tips actually. First one is, do not open up a shop unless you're 100% sure you can maintain and sustain your bills and pay everything on your own.
Okay.
Okay. 2, it'll be easier for you to take somebody that does not, because it's going to take a while.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be easier and better for you to take somebody that really doesn't know that much about cutting hair and teach them. And not only teach them how to cut hair, you're going to teach them you're going to mold them into the barber that you want to be.
Gotcha.
Or you want him to be.
Right.
Okay? And get him his license, do the apprenticeship program with him, teach him how to cut hair, teach him the standard that you would like, teach him how to follow your rules, show him the business hours, to treat it as a job. Mm-hmm. And once you get a team full of people that you taught and showed them everything, they're going to be more, I'm not going to say loyal, because at the end of the day, a lot of barbers' dream is to open up their own shop,
mm-hmm.
right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But you're going to have a bunch of barbers, and you're going to create barbers that are going to go and open up their own shop as opposed to bounce from barbershop to barbershop.
Right.
And as a shop owner, that's probably what you want to see. You want to see them grow. You don't want to see them jump from one shop to another shop.
Right, right.
So if you take those 2 rules and you start doing it, you can start doing it now. Start doing it. If you have barbers that come in and out, it won't bother you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at the end of the day, you do want to make money, but
mm-hmm.
you don't need it.
Right.
You understand
right.
what I'm trying to say?
Now, do you think that? Oh man, I mean, it's a lot of barbers coming out, today. It's like it's more of a not to say a trend, but it's just more people are interested in barbering.
Yeah.
Do you think that every barber should become a shop owner?
No, because not everybody can handle it. Not everybody's made for it.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are better off in a suite.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are just, better off as just renting a chair.
Right. How do they learn that, though? How do they learn?
It all depends on how they learned barbering.
Okay.
Me, for example, when I started, I had someone took me under his wing. He didn't just show me, what I was doing wrong or how to cut hair or tricks and tips like that. He showed me how to run the business. He showed me, look, this is how I run my shop. This is how I've done it. And I've been doing it for years. And if you can find a mentor that's going to show you that, then forget it. That's worth more than any school, more than anything. These $20,000, these people are learning how. They don't even teach you how to cut hair. A lot of these places, they just teach you how to pass the test. Yeah. That's worth way more than anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you can find someone who's going to mentor you like that, stick with it, man.
Okay. I respect that.
That's kind of like what I try to do in my shop,
Mm-hmm.
Actually, 1, 2, 3. I think out of 9 barbers, 6 of them I've trained myself.
Oh wow!
Yeah, 6 of them I've trained myself. One of them is my son. He's killing it too, by the way.
That's dope. How does that feel as being a father and having your son?
It's great. It's got its ups and downs,
mm-hmm.
Because it's your son,
mm-hmm.
and in a way you kind of have to separate that a little bit, but it comes to a time where he's trying to do his thing, and you're getting a little upset because you're like, look, well, how come you're not at work?
Right.
Because he's starting to like that freedom too.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm proud of him, man. It's great.
That's dope.
He's been 2.5 years now, and he's been killing it, man. He's got his clientele up. He only works by appointments. But yeah, he's doing his thing.
That's dope, man. I'm proud of you, though, man.
That's the best thing, man. Like, yeah, your kids are how old?
My daughter, she's 14.
Did she ever decide to get into barbering or cutting hair?
Braiding. She likes to.
Yeah.
She's taken after
So
her
maybe
mother.
you should teach your daughter how to cut men's hair and braid at the same time. She'd kill it.
Man, I have a video of her trying to cut on a mannequin because I was like downstairs, and after, like when I first was in the shop, I used to go downstairs and test on a mannequin.
Yeah.
And she'll be down there with me trying to cut hair and stuff like that. So I had a mannequin. I just let her jack up, and it's like it was just so cute. You know what I mean at the time. But she kind of grew up. You know what I mean? She's like, Dad, I like nails. I like the braid and stuff like that.
Okay.
She don't want to like cut hair. She just wants like me to do the hot towel. She wants like all the other like
cosmetic
features.
stuff.
Yeah.
No, that's cool, man. That's dope. Have you got any other questions or?
Let me see. Let me double check. Let me double check the
You wrote a
phone.
couple of things down.
Oh yeah. It was just one more. It was so what's next for N.Y.O? Like what's next?
There's a couple things. First off, we're going to be taking these podcasts.
Okay.
In June, we're going to be in Reading. In July, we'll be in Brooklyn. August, we'll be in Baltimore. October in New Jersey. I just heard of one in September, not 100% sure. November, I'm going to try to get into Philly. So we're probably taking this to all these places to get more, get more
Traction.
interviews and things like that.
That's dope.
So that's probably one of the things that's next for the podcast. As far as the shop, there's a few things I'm trying to work on. I'm not sure if that's going to fall through yet, though.
Okay.
But when it does, you'll see it's going to be something different.
Okay. I look forward to that, man.
All right, guys. Well, we've been talking pretty long.
Yeah.
Y'all be safe. Thank you, Concise.
Thank you, man. I
Y'all be
appreciate
safe,
it.
man. Peace.
Y'all be blessed.